major news outlets in the country. We'll take a break here. When I come back, I'll introduce the issues up for discussion and my guests. We'll be right back. Stay with us. You're welcome back. So it's been a week where the issues dominating the headlines on the front pages range from campaign activities, of course, the electoral violence that broke out in the Adonoo constituency, as well as some related issues in the Asawase constituency in the Ashanti region, where some persons were arrested. The member of parliament of that constituency imputing some politically motivated meanings into what happened over there, as well as the presentation of the expenditure in advance of appropriation, or the advanced budget for the first quarter of 2021 that was presented by the finance minister Ken Ofori-Atta in parliament yesterday, that is Wednesday. Let's look at how the papers captured these major stories, beginning from citynewsroom.com on the electoral violence. Nilante van der Poel urges supporters to refrain from violence. That's a story from a press conference that was held yesterday by that's Wednesday, by Nilante van der Poel, member of parliament for the constituency Adonoo and parliamentary candidate for the NDC. Adonoo, Peace Council condemns NPP NDC clash, calls for speedy prosecution. 7,000 hotspots identified for election violence in Bono region. To the Daily Guide, police invites 2 Adonoo candidates. To the Chronicle, NDC health walk turns bloody after a sniper reportedly fired into crowd. To the New Crusading Guide, President condemns Adonoo rioters, says violence shouldn't be an option. Let's move to the issues regarding the budget, 2021 first quarter budget. Something systematically wrong with economy. TechPec calls for disclosure from government. So, citynewsroom.com, government seeks parliamentary approval to issue 5 billion sovereign bond. Citynewsroom.com once again, Akufo-Addo has borrowed more than any president in Ghana's history. That's according to the NDC. To the Business and Financial Times, Ofori-Atta asks for 27.4 billion Ghana cedis financing for 2021 quarter one budget, plans to borrow up to $5 billion from bond market, paints economy's future on 100 billion Ghana Cares program. To the Chronicle, HIPIC economic mismanagement are behind us, Ofori-Atta tells Parliament. To the Daily Guide, HIPIC report fake, that's according to government. To the Daily Graphic, Ghana not declared HIPIC upon Kroma, IMF corroborates. To the Ghanaian Times, quarter one 2021 budget, government requests 27.4 billion to carry out programs activities from January to March next year. To the New Crusading Guide, Finance Minister cracks Mahama, says HIPIC is behind us, no turning back. To the Business Finder, government targets 5.7% growth, pledges to revitalize, transform economy. The program is live and interactive. You can join us with the WhatsApp on the WhatsApp line 055-058-5832. Join us on Twitter via the hashtag what the papers are saying. Also, you can join us via the Facebook stream. Drop your comments, and we would read them. I've been joined in studio by Selorm Adonoo, head of features and articles, City FM and City TV. Welcome, Selorm.
Thank you, Duke.
Also been joined by Kojo Akoto, Boateng, head of new media, City FM, City TV, and of course, citynewsroom.com. That's new media essentially. Also co-host of the City Breakfast Show. Welcome, Kojo.
Thank you, Duke. We are wearing the same shirt.
Coincidence or providence? Any of them?
I didn't even notice.
No, this is the BA connection.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So let's begin with the issues of electoral violence. Saturday, there was a procession by one of the parties, the MPP, in the Adonoo, and I'm talking about the Adonoo constituency. Sunday, there was a health walk by the NDC, and before it could end, all hell broke loose, bottles, free fall, fight violence, some got injured, treated, police, and all of that. Is this a matter that the police or the state apparatus in terms of security can be blamed for what happened, or it's just the political parties not being able to hem in their supporters? So.
Well, thanks, Duke. Well, very important question you raised. The matter of the Adonoo constituency is one that should be, or should have been anticipated by any serious security apparatus of any country. Over the years, every time there is an election, Adonoo or a community in Adonoo always comes up, as a flashpoint. So it's important that security agencies always pick up these and ensure that they do what they must do. But the very nature of that constituency, it's interesting. Akoto, Lante, Jamestown, sometimes Kantabanto, and a few other places making up that area, densely populated. And if you drive through the area, you realize that quite a number of young people are there, a lot of them not working, unemployed, and so very, very active population. And if you have a very active population like that, who do not have any meaningful jobs to do, they become very, it becomes very easy for politicians or people or evil people to use them. That is why every now and then in election time we see these things happening. So it is not, I'm not surprised that it's happening. The indiscipline that, occasions this is legendary. And I think the earlier we decided to do something about it, the better it will be for us. All elections in that area, have been characterized by, patches of violence, if I'll say, from 2000, where Neo Kaija Damafi was a member of parliament, to 96, 2000, when Nia Ibonte came in, Mankata came in, he died, Kome came through that by-election. And indeed, that by-election was one I followed quite closely. I remember Paul Adumotri, Bernard and Co covered that by-election. And listening on radio, I thought the place was going to burn. Wow. It was so competitive, and it was so fiercely fought that, if you're an ordinary observer of things, you would think the place was going to burn. The kinds of words that people were using, the way the candidate meant to win that election. And you see the young people, caught in the middle of all that. Ni Kome left, Lante Van Der Poel came in 2016, he contested, against the same person, also Lante Bannerman of the MPP, and now it is the same showdown between these two people. So what is happening there is that Lante Van Der Poel is beating Lante Bannerman once, when Lante Van Der Poel was in government. Now Lante Bannerman is in government. He wants to beat Lante Van Der Poel. Whether he can beat him or not is another thing. Indeed, historically, in the fourth Republican era, the MPP is won, I think, just once, in the person of Ni Ayibonte. But it is a very interesting constituency. Let me quickly share the 2016 results from that constituency with you. Indeed, Lante Van Der Poel won the constituency with about 10,000 difference. But the important thing for me, or the important question that came to mind when I saw the pictures and the videos, is that where were the police when that was happening? That is basic. Our laws are clear about such processions and such programs, and we have the Public Order Act, and Section 1 of that states that any person who desires to hold any special event within the meaning of this act in any public place shall notify the police of his intention no less than 5 days before the date of the special event. And what's a special event? The act itself, Act 491, defines what a special event is. A special event means procession, parade, carnival, street dance, celebration of traditional custom, outdooring of traditional ruler, etc. Those things have been defined. So what must happen? The notification shall be in writing and signed by or on behalf of the organizers of the special event and shall specify the place and hour of the special event, the nature of the special event, the time of commencement, the proposed route and destination, if any, and proposed time of closure of the event. It goes on to state a lot of things. It talks about what the responsibility of the police will be in this case and what the responsibility of the organizers and other persons involved in that special event will be. So the question is, did the health workers, did they notify the police of this special event? Because walks and processions have been classified by law as special event. Did they notify the police? Did they do it according to law, 5 days, etc.? Did the police accept that such a thing should happen? The procession. Number two, if the police agreed, were the police part of the procession? Because as part of the law, the police are supposed to guide you through the route. You should provide a route, tell them the time of the event, and the police will guide you through the route.
From all indications, they were. From the videos we've seen,
yeah,
the police were missing.
So I'm getting there. So I'm saying that
either not notified,
yes,
or they just were not interested in whatever.
I'm getting there. So the laws are clear. If they did not notify the police, the laws are clear on what will happen to the organizers of the thing. So that deals with the responsibility of organizers and other persons, and the punishments or sanctions are spelled out clearly in the law. So if they did not notify the police, then the police will have its job cut out for them. They have to go after the organizers of the work and deal with them according to law. The laws are clear, the punishments are clear. Number two, if the police were notified and they failed to do that, that's dereliction of duty, and we must call the police out. But so far, what I see is blame game. NDC blaming MPP and MPP blaming NDC. Of course, we understand the NPP did their event on Saturday and the NDC did theirs on a Sunday. Now, you can't even know what the truth is. Of course, an event happened on Saturday, one happened on Sunday, MPP Saturday, NDC Sunday. And of course, I watched on CNN on Saturday, the NDPP guys were in black. I hear they were mourning one of their executive or so, and there was a huge procession. NDC did theirs on Sunday. But you can't even tell what the truth is because everybody is blaming the other, or the parties are blaming each other. Some said they were peacefully on their procession and they got attacked when they got to the MPP office. MPP guys are also saying that there was a procession. When they got to the office, they started throwing stones into the office and they vandalized property. You can't even know what the truth is. And to date, we don't really have any serious indication from the police whether serious investigations are ongoing and whether persons have been picked up, apart from the gentleman we saw in the video holding a gun. That is a different thing. But in terms of dealing with this chaos in itself, I've seen very little from the police. And you see, the police keep disappointing us. For example, Neil Antivandapoy some time ago said that he was beaten at one of the police stations also by certain thugs. He called them national security operatives. I don't know them. But to date, we've not had any serious word from the police on that. And you see, when you are getting into a contest where the referee appears not impartial, you weaken the confidence of the other side in you. So I've read commentaries and I've read quotations from people who say that, who tell the police in this instance that power is transient. The police must not allow us to be telling them that. For us to tell the police that power is transient means that the police are perceived as, supporting or inclining, supporting one side of the divide. And that is not good for the police. The police is supposed to do an independent job. At least let us feel or have a sense that you are doing an independent job. So for me, given all that is happening and given the inactivity of the police and their inability to bring perpetrators of these, criminal acts to book, it makes me worry about what lies ahead, because it appears this is happening at so many other places, and when it happens, we don't really see any serious action from the police. And once we cannot trust the police to do justice in matters like this, then we are lost. That is a very unfortunate thing for me.
Let me bring in Kojo here.
Yeah.
Last week around the same time, the Small Arms and Light Weapons Commission identified over 4,000 hotspots. And Adonoo was part of, I mean, the hotspots from across the country. So is Asawase. We'll be coming there a bit later on. Selorm is of the view that this is clear, failure.
I actually wanted to pick up from where Selorm
failure on the
landed.
part of the police. But what about the political actors themselves, the candidates and those who are involved in that, and the fact that they could also be harmed in the process of the violence that they perpetrated?
Yes, Selorm has eloquently broken it down in different areas. And like Lord Kenya said in the song Adasa, he said, Asembia nyina soye miensa. Said the uhuno, said the mihuno, and in kwari. To it, in every matter, there are three different angles. Your point of view, my point of view, and the truth. Usually we just throw it out there that there are two sides to every story. But usually there are actually three sides. What each party's position is and the truth. Now, Selorm was trying to give us some background as to the Ododiodio and the voting trends and how Ododiodio is how it is. I'll just take us to 2012 and 2016. Now, in 2012, the margin between NDC and MPP was 18,000, NDC won. In 2016, it dropped to 10,000, NDC won. Now, considering the fact that this is an election which may give Nanado his second term, or John Mahama his second term, and this is not like a regular election, all the parties are looking at the data. Now, should it go the way of the NPP, it means we'll be seeing the trends that we see in election years where if voters are retaining the incumbent, usually the voter turnout goes up. If it's going to go the way of the NDC, then we may likely see a trend where, I may be wrong, maybe this time the trends will change, because usually in years where we change governments, turnout goes down, so the incumbent usually suffers. So all the parties are doing their calculations, and I'm sure NDC is doing their calculations to tell them that in 2012, there was an 18,000 difference, in 2010 it dropped, we should do more. NPP is also seeing an opportunity, since it dropped in 2016, maybe we can make it drop further to add on to our general votes to push our gains. So they're all trying to do the best they can. Now, aside that, so the realization for the parties is that they need to do their work in order to do. Over 70,000 registered voters. Let's get as many as we can to push our chances at winning the general elections. That's number one. Now, number two, out of the 264 hotspots in the Greater Accra region, Ododiodio has 50 hotspots. That is 19%, almost 20%, which is a fifth of the hotspots in the whole region. And we didn't establish this fact today. We've always known that Ododiodio is a hotspot. When Selorm was speaking, he gave us two scenarios. Is it that the people didn't inform the police before they went on the health walk, or the police were informed and they didn't do their work? From what I know, the police were informed, because we saw policemen in some of the videos that we saw that were shared. So the police were informed, and they've not come out publicly to tell us that they were not informed before that health work was undertaken. So the police administration knew. If they knew, and we've always known that Ododiodio is a hotspot, what did they put in place to deal with this? Because the route is clear. They are using the high street. They will definitely go and walk in front of an MPP office. And when it comes to political fanaticism and foot soldierism, usually the mere fact that your opponent is even walking or even staring at your billboard could make somebody misbehave. So they had all this information. So how did the police, what scenario planning did the police do to avert this? I think that's the main thing that we should ask ourselves. Because if in the Greater Accra region, with a huge voter population number, the biggest in the country, we say that Ododiodio has almost 1/5 of the hotspots in the region, and NDC is organizing a health walk where they will walk in front of the MPP office, and nobody did scenario planning to know what could possibly go wrong, to beef up security, to prevent some of these things. I think the police administration in that regard failed. That's number one. Number two, I think the parties also failed in ensuring that they briefed their members to also predict some of these things that could happen to avert some of these things. For example, NDC, you know, you're organizing a health walk and you're going to walk through an NPP enclave. Definitely, you should anticipate that anything could happen. There could be disagreements, there could be exchange of words, and so you already psych your members up that this could happen, but when it happens, nobody should react. NPP also knowing that your main opponents are going to do this, you should also have done your homework and told your people that this is possible and it can happen. So when it happens, nobody should react. And the party hierarchy on both sides should have been present. You understand? So that MPP big guys are there, NDC big guys, everybody is also there. So should anything happen, they deal at their level to calm tempers so that things can run. Because we are not in a state where we can afford to allow some of these things to happen going into the 2020 elections. Because one, COVID-19 hit us and the country is suffering from the effects of COVID-19. Number two, we should not lose a life, have somebody injured or lose any property because we are going into the elections. Because already we are suffering from the economic effects of COVID-19 and nobody should expect the state to put money in treating people or saving lives in this. We shouldn't burden the state that much. So I think that the party should have done their work. And on the bit of Small Arms Commission, this is not the first time the Small Arms Commission has come out to speak. Since I started radio, it's been about 15 years since I started radio, at least. Oh. Every year the Small Arms Commission is raising an alert one way or the other.
So where's the disconnect?
And the last time they put out figures, the last time they put out figures, they said there were about 1 million illegal weapons in this country. Beyond what they say and what they try to push, what structure or what strategy has the Interior Ministry put in place to mop up some of these weapons and to step up security? So we'll be here and something will happen to a legislator and immediately they want to beef up security. But we all know the security issues in our neighborhoods, in our country. What have we done over the 15 years that I have done radio and followed the Small Arms Commission with the various alerts they've been giving and the data they are putting out? Our borders are porous, over 1 million illegal arms in the system. How are we mopping these things up? So I think the police failed. They didn't do their scenario planning well and put in place the things to avert some of these things. Number two, the parties also didn't do justice. Because look, even when we were boys and were kids, when we are going to play football in a different neighborhood and we know there are rival teams, sometimes our leadership will tell us when you go and they push you, you don't fight. You understand? These are simple, commonsensical ways we can use to avert some of these things. So the political leaders should do better. Bukom Banku said something when Vivian went to Jamestown to interview him.
God for the
that
arrest.
The police should pick them up, pick up all the leaders of these parties and take them through rigorous investigation. Let's find the culprits, let's deal with them. We've seen instances where an MP has fired a weapon and is gone unnoticed. We've seen things that have happened in this country where leadership decided not to react. And sometimes it emboldens other people to say that if this person did it and there was no reaction, maybe we could also do this. And this should also send a message to leadership that every criminal act, every illegal act, every act that can destabilize the society should be dealt with immediately to prevent others from thinking they can also do the same. Because the electoral process is a process of giving people jobs and giving people the mandate to manage the country. That process should not lead into chaos to give us more problems. Yeah. So leadership should also sit up and look at all these things. Over 4,000 hotspots, so many issues. What are we telling the people and how are we dealing with the miscreants in the system when they misbehave? To let other people know that when these things happen, we'll take action. I think those are key things that we must all pay attention to.
Okay, we'll take a break here. When I come back, Selorm would have another opportunity to comment on the issues in Odio. They'll move in a bit into Asawase, and then the other issues are for discussions. You can bring in your comments via the WhatsApp line 0550585832, as well as the other platforms advertised. We'll take a break. Stay with us.
Since 2017, a new dawn is breaking in Ghana. The NPP is building the foundations for growth and transformation. We are curbing unemployment with new and decent jobs.
Thanks to Nana, I've got a new job through NAPCO. That is why I'm voting for him as the MPP.
The promise of free SHS is now a reality.
Through education, I have a brighter future. That's why I'm voting for Nana and the MPP.
The future of our country is in the hands of a competent leader, a man you can trust.
I trust Nana.
This December, let's protect our progress. Let's give Nana 4 more to do more for you.
2020, 4 more for Nana. 2020, yes, woman, Nana.
Hello and welcome back. This is what the papers are saying. Just before we went to the break, we're discussing the matters arising from the electoral violence recorded this week from the constituency, as well as other related matters. We'll be moving on to that of Asawase in the Ashanti region. Just before, a couple of messages from viewers. Ni Okansi from Temawe says it was a total failure from the police. It's quite short and straight to the point. Rahim from Tamale says life is not a war. Life is not a test. Life is a game and life is a gift. NDC should know that violence and vandalism cannot and will not give them power. John from Akatamanso says, did I hear the president condemning the violence at Adonoo? Have you not heard several electoral violence or issues of electoral violence under his watch? What did he do about it? Come December 7th, we shall see. That's from John from Akata Manso. All right, so other messages, as and when they come in, we would bring them or would read them. Let's, before we move on to the other issues, Selorm, you want to take
just a quick one. So Kojo makes an important point that the party leaders failed also in calling their people to order. Very important point in a normal situation or in a situation where we have quote-unquote sensible people. But do our political leaders actually want to call their people to order? That is the question. Over the years, unfortunately, we have come to see that violent pace in such electoral matters. So we saw something in Chereponi, we saw Ayawaso West Wagon, and those matters have been left unresolved or unsatisfactorily resolved. So the party that came out stronger, the party that showed stronger force, won, and nothing happened to them. The victims were left to suffer on their own. So next time, when they are going into another battle, the other side will want to fortify itself better. The part which was stronger the last time will not go sleeping. They will also want to go stronger. So in the end, we will be going to war, if you like, with two very prepared sides who will be ready to do battle at all costs. So I'm not sure if the party leaders will tell their people to calm down. When the other one is coming with full force, all guns blazing, you can't afford to tell your people to calm down. So that is a problem. That is why I will lay it squarely at the doorstep of the police, because human beings by nature will want to behave in any manner I want to behave. It's nice for human beings to think and exercise judgment when we do things. But that is not a given. Not everybody will do that. That is why we have law enforcement. That is why the police is there. If human beings could behave well, there will be no need for the police. The police are there because human beings cannot be trusted to behave well. That is why it's unfortunate that in instances like this, the police is actually quiet and left powerless. And it's so embarrassing that they don't even feel bad about it. They don't even feel that, they have failed us. So they continue. Let it happen again tomorrow. Nothing will happen. The same place, nothing will happen. And so it becomes something we will see over and over again, and we've become used to it. And I worry because the election is coming. We have a lot of unresolved matters all around the country. Gone are the days we used to say Ghanaians are peaceful, Ghanaians will not do this. When we give the Ghanaian opportunity, the Ghanaian will want to show an act of wickedness and harm his colleague, just even for political power.
We've
seen that in a few
they've
places.
revised their strategy this week.
Who, police?
Director of Operations,
But it's not, but that's
Dr.
PR.
Saibu Garba.
It is talk.
Said
It
they've
is
revised
PR.
their operations, and hopefully we should expect, I mean,
My
the
friend,
rollout of better strategies from
it is
them.
talk
You know,
and it is PR. We've heard this before. When I asked what happened, what didn't we say? We did a whole commission of inquiry. What has happened from that? Nothing. Although it has happened, it's not the first time it has happened. Many things will happen. It's the same thing. The police must realize that they failed us, and they must also know that they owe the Ghanaian a duty, and not necessarily the politician. You know, so they act. Until they do that, we'll be joking, and we are joking.
In fact, the truth is, if I were the IGP, and if the president would listen, all these health walks, I would advise that we ban them. Seriously. Because I think the health walks are even political rallies in disguise. And in an era of COVID, seeing a second wave across a lot of countries. And today, when the report came, I think today 64 people tested positive. Like, we have 64 new cases. And I think that, look, we are fighting COVID. We have an economy in distress. We have over 4,000 hotspots. There's an official at Parliament who says it's actually about 6,000. Small Arms Commission says, look, there's a lot in the system and it's really not cool. These elections, there's a lot of heat and tension also in it, even though people do not really accept the fact that that is the case. Indeed is the case. We are seeing NSAS in Nigeria and ending in other things. We are seeing Togo a bit unstable. We've seen Cote d'Ivoire and we've seen Burkina Faso. And if you look at Ghana, with our population of 32 million people, almost every Ghanaian can be reached through one form of communication or the other. So if the political parties want to reach people and disseminate their information and campaign, looking at what we are in with the global pandemic and all these things, I think we should ban these health walks. Really, I feel they are just political rallies disguised. Look, I've seen videos of health walks, so this is what happens. They go in the morning, converge on a place, they are dressed and told what to do. They go for the walk, they come. Then officials mount stages, music, talk, rally-style addresses and all that. They eat, drink, party, go home. And we say we are fighting COVID-19. We say we cannot open schools because of COVID-19.
The COVID-19 fight is a joke because the
we say
politicians have
we are not
taken over
opening schools because of COVID-19. We are not doing this because of COVID-19. We are not doing that because of COVID-19. But we are organizing health walks, campaign rallies disguised as health walks,
and their best,
going through all these crazy things, which puts public health at risk, all in the name of campaigning. And the police is also not being proactive in dealing with some of these hotspots. So we should ban the health walks. We should ban all these political rallies we are seeing around. These debates that the sitting government is encouraging, that the opposition is also jumping onto. We should ban all these things. Communicate on radio, do TV. The same way we said we're going to reach. Look, when COVID came, the government said we're going to teach students through TV and radio. If we feel that is effective at reaching students, let's also stick to some of these media to reach people, to campaign to them.
The arguments being made that in some of these places that the various candidates are touring, most of them do not even have active cases.
They do not have active cases. But
we just need one case
we could,
to go there.
We could export cases to them.
You just need one case.
And that's the justification that I've come with regards to the fact that most of you don't even see face masks at these.
The other fact is we are not testing enough. The other fact is we are not testing enough. And if you are talking to doctors and people in the healthcare system, they tell you that we are not really out of the woods. They are recording cases every now and again. So let's ban them. We don't have money to campaign, do we? We don't have money to sustain the economy, do we?
When it comes to
we don't have money to pay schools to reopen, do we?
When it comes to politics, we find the money. When it comes to politics, we find. See, the bit about the small arms, you see, the police or the national security apparatus knows where the small arms usually are manufactured, and they know the dealers in the small arms, but there is no will to deal with it. So we talk about it. Small Arms Commission will come and talk, NGOs will talk, everybody will talk. It doesn't go anywhere. They'll issue reports. NGOs with funding from some places will issue reports just to tick some boxes and show that the work has been done, etc. And nothing happens. They know where in Ghana small arms are manufactured, and if the manufacture of such arms and the way they are distributed or sent across the country is illegal, why are we allowing those places to thrive? That is a problem. So you see, we just talk. We become a PR republic. We just talk, very little to do in terms of implementation of the things we say. So we talk, we get applauses nicely, we go and sit down, and everything is normal as if nothing happened. That is the problem we have today in Ghana.
So on this issue of elections, let's look at Asawase briefly, just for a few minutes.
Yeah.
Persons are arrested. Member of Parliament, interested party candidate says it's politically motivated, and that the anti-robberies unit of the Ghana Police Service is probably doing the bidding of his opponents. And the youth Sunday stormed the Swami Police Station because they believe that members of a party had been arrested unjustifiably.
You know, Asawase is a place I've reported on several times. Last elections, I was there.
Yeah.
I remember when some media houses were announcing numbers as being numbers from the Constituency Coalition Center. Some people suggesting that Muntaka had lost. And there was a lot of heat in the environment. Police and military patrol teams were dispatched to the area. I was in the middle of it, right? People throwing fire bombs and all that. I was in the middle of it. And it's funny, when we were there and they were collating results, they had not even finished collating results, but people were manufacturing all sorts of figures and putting them out. The Ashanti region has 15% of the number of hotspots across the country. Asawase has 8% of the hotspots within the Ashanti region. So that's a big number. And if you know Asawase very well, the area it is, the interconnectivity with other places, and the chaos, if chaos erupts in Asawase, it could spread everywhere else. And it could affect a lot of things.
Center of town.
And so I think that the security agencies, and in this particular instance, the Ghana Police Service, should be very tactical. They've dealt with Asawase before, they've dealt with the opinion leaders. Before these issues happened, I remember the NPP and the NDC in the Asawase met to sign a peace pact that they would behave sensibly as we go into the elections, and they would ensure that their followers do not get into some of these things. Now, since the hierarchy have gone into this and publicly created the impression that they want to work peacefully to deal with some of these things, I also believe that the police administration must work with both parties and both sides to ensure that they deal with these issues such that they do not degenerate into what we've seen. Because I know what the Asawase boys can do. When we used to live in a Ijazongo, the Sun City, when there's a conflict between a Ijazongo boys, Sawaba boys, and Asawase boys, in the night there will be a fight, and in the morning at least 20 people will be admitted in the hospital with cutlass and machete wounds. It wasn't a joke. So if we are dealing with issues, let's engage the opinion leaders appropriately, engage the political parties. Because I think in the case of Asawase, unlike Ododo, they came out together to say that we've signed a peace pact, that leadership of both parties are going to do A, B, C, D to ensure we don't get to where we've been before. And there have been instances where, you see, there's a bit of mistrust for the police service when it comes to Asawase. Because 2008, before the final results countrywide were announced, there was this issue of Asawase votes, and that ballot boxes were going to be carried away. And Muntaka said, was it 2008 or 2012? Muntaka said, no, I will not agree. He slept on the ballot boxes in the police truck. He received some very good slaps. All these issues have come up. And Asawase has been a stronghold of the NDC. Even
the registration, just ended registration, the kind of, controversy that it generated at Asawase. The letters that were written.
So there's a bit of a mistrust for the police service when it comes to managing Asawase-related matters. So now that the parties have decided that we'll work together, I think the police must also work with the people and also get to the bottom to know the various rabble-rousers and how to deal with the issues. We do not want Asawase to degenerate. Last year, what I saw, I remember I was with Tima at Asawase, and it was so bad. At the point, they didn't have data to transmit the results to the EC office, and nobody had data around. Getting out to even buy data was a problem. I had to put on Facebook, because I had just about 2 megabytes, because I was live streaming everything and my data was running out, that if you are anywhere that you can send me data, send me MTN vouchers. Don't send it via WhatsApp or Facebook. Text it, because I may have run out of data. Then we got the data and gave it to them to do these things.
Before they could transmit
and
their results.
It wasn't 100 people, it wasn't 200 people, it wasn't 300 people.
Oh.
Thousands of people. All the streets around the coalition center were blocked. Even the police and the military reinforcement units that were coming through had a challenge coming through, and they couldn't fire. They couldn't, because the people could even have overpowered them. So it's not your regular constituency or your regular neighborhood where you would act without dealing with the people and getting their participation in dealing with the illegalities that go on. So I think that the police administration should really work with the parties and the opinion leaders so that they manage Asawase peacefully for us to go through this election.
Differences between Asawase and Odododo, maybe in terms of geography, but in terms of the security risk and it's being flashpoints, some similarities run across. Kojo is asking for greater monitoring and then a collaboration between the political leaders. What would you say about such a situation? Also, a history of political violence over the period, just like Odododo.
You see, when you have places like Asawase, the security must be extra careful and must be sharper than in normal situations, because they very well know what the situation is in Asawase, and the strategy in dealing with the crime or the situation in the area should be nuanced. So you must have a way of dealing with it. I'm no security expert, but I know that you can't do the same strategy for every place. Yeah. So Kojo talks about working with the parties, opinion leaders, etc. And it's good the parties have agreed to work together, though I won't place too much premium on the parties agreeing to work together, because when something happens, everybody takes their position, and what we see every time that we condemn will happen again. It is important again that the police, who are supposed to be the arbiter in this matter, put up a good show. The police must engage, the police must have informants, the police must try as much as possible to be ahead of the people. Until the police is ahead of the people, we will continue to have such instances. We've seen Asawase, we've seen the kinds of people there, we've seen the kinds of things they can do. In the last election, I think President Akufo-Addo won the presidential in the area, and Muntaka won the parliamentary, won it with a very slim margin. So the MPP people in the area think that with a little push they can win. The NDC people in the area also feel that they will have to work hard to hold on to that constituency. So
only the three seats.
So it appears there's so much at stake in that area. So when you have police in such an area, you need to be extra vigilant. You need to put on your A game, and you don't go making cheap or unnecessary mistakes that will increasingly make the place more volatile and deepen mistrust for it. Because already in our very polarized political system, police and co are not trusted because of their own history and because of the things they've done themselves. In matters like this, you need the people on your side, and the way you approach it will be important. And so I expect the police to devise strategies of dealing with this and dealing with them more. Because if it is to spark, we won't have a good thing on our hands.
All right. So we'll take another break here. When I come back, there are a couple of messages that have come in. We'll read them for you, and we'll wrap up with the last issue that we've got up on the plate for discussion.
During tough times, we need a competent leader we can trust to keep us all safe.
Nana gave me free water, when I needed it most to keep me clean and safe from COVID-19.
Nana gave me lower cost of internet during COVID-19 to operate my small business from home.
Nana told us to trust him to keep our children safe from COVID-19 when we send them back to school. Nana was right.
Nana gave me free electricity in my hour of need during COVID-19.
Nana told us to trust him to keep Ghana safe from COVID-19.
You're welcome back. This is what the papers are saying. I still haven't through Selorm, Adonoo and Kojo, Akoto, Boateng. Let's clear some of the messages we've sent in. Kuma from Odomase Krobo says the two leaders are the causes or are behind the violence at Adonoo. Now, Selorm Jr. says the seeming lack of neutrality on the part of the police ought to be looked at critically if we are committed to reducing the incidence of violence in our body politic. Paul from Ashaliboche says your panelists are great and factual. What is the punishment for police failure in public gatherings? The police were a complete disaster at Adonoo because they virtually did nothing after naming that area as a hot spot. Stephen Opoku from Asante Bekwa says both the NPP and the NDC bigwigs should come out boldly to condemn Adonoo's clash and render unqualified apologies. The last issue has got to do with the 2021 budget expenditure in advance of appropriation. There's been an agreement, in fact, been legislated that in election years, the budget for the first 3 months for the succeeding year should be read. Government should plan for whoever would take over. So 27.4 billion cedis for recurrent expenditure, routine things, wages and salaries, compensations, ex gratia, and of course the capital expenditure that was mentioned that government will be focusing on its agenda 111, the building of the health, the hospitals across the country, district and regional hospitals. What are the issues that jump at you from the budget that was read yesterday? Let me begin with you, Selorm.
Well, I think it was quite a brief one. Of course, I didn't expect it to be very long. But one thing which I mean, the finance minister's optimism about what the new year has, I mean, struck me because I mean, as I said, I'm very cautiously optimistic about what the new year, you know, has because of COVID, and being a country that depends so much on imports and what other countries give us by way of grants, etc., you know, borrowing from other places, etc. And now that we know there is a second wave of COVID in Europe, especially, I was thinking that the finance minister will manage our expectations. But I think he went very optimistic to tell us that, you know, the rebound of the economy was nigh, and the confidence was bouncing back. The signs were good, etc. Yes, we do that, but you must temper that with some amount of, I mean, you know, products to be a bit measured in our expectation, because if it doesn't go that way, it comes back to bite you. Of course, I also know that it's an election year, and this is like one of the biggest platforms you will get to the year ends or to election to push the agenda of the president. So if you realize that the speech was like a glowing tribute to the leadership style, etc., of President Akufo-Addo, that is to be expected. But I only thought that, you know, he could have called on us to be a bit measured in our expectations in the future, but maybe that will not do for the politician. So next year and after, in my view, is that things are going to be a bit tighter because we will have to deal with certain things. I mean, the monies we get from donors, etc., I'm not sure they will be coming in like we've had in the last few years. So, and the fact that we always run a very limited fiscal space, you know, a lot of our money going into emoluments and interest payments. Even with this 27.4 million, about 7 billion of that money is going into emoluments, and about 7 billion also going into interest payments. So when you take this, I mean, so you realize that your money is finished. And so if this is our situation, and we are talking about going to the international capital market again for bonds, etc., and that has been our style, and indeed the fact that we are going to the international capital market for bonds, etc., in a time when our rating has been downgraded, partly because of COVID, etc., it means that we'll be paying more for the same amount of money we would have had at a lower rate. All these things will go a long way to tighten things in the economy. I want to be measured in my expectations of the future. The next year and the next 2 years will be very, very critical.
Despite the 100 billion Ghana Cares program.
But what's the source of the 100 Ghana? When you look at the revenue targets, they said we've exceeded the revenue target, but we've also exceeded expenditure. Yeah. So I'm not very sure about that. But it's good. Agenda 111, etc. It's great, and I'm also looking forward to see more on capital expenditure. But not so much was said on that, apart from Agenda 111, etc.
Yeah. So let me start from Agenda 111. When the president spoke on the 26th of April, that evening, he said that we have to own our future. That was the night he mentioned that 88 district hospitals and regional hospitals will be built. And then later, they added on some other facilities. We got Agenda 111. Now, on that night, I estimated the cost of these things to be minimum $2 billion. Okay. And the argument you made was that, look, if the world is suffering, there is an economic meltdown and all that, and we are boldly going to do Agenda 111, we should use this to transform our local communities and also put money in the system. Because we've seen it. When Obama took over managing America and they were struggling, we want to create jobs. Let's invest in infrastructure. How? Let's ensure we invest in infrastructure, use local material, get a lot of people employed. Let's get the system fixed. If you are doing 88 district hospitals, my assumption is each district hospital, based on the Ghana Health Service standard modular design for district hospitals, should cost $32 million. Now, if you are ensuring that each project has a high level of local content, that's a lot of money that will be going into local economies, just from Agenda 111. So we expect to see that, but we've seen photos from the Eastern Regional Hospital that was launched. We've seen a few things. The government must use this period and the money we are borrowing to spend to put a lot of money back into the economy and to create jobs. So it's a tight system, 27 billion for the first 3 months, and out of that, about 1.7 billion is going to be spent, 3 point something is going to be spent on Agenda 111 and related matters. We must feel that in our pockets, and that must change our fortunes as a people. That money shouldn't be money that will be flying away into other economies and other countries.
So, yes, a breakdown of a compensation of employees, 7.7 billion, use of goods, 1.5 billion, interest payments, 7 billion, subsidies, 259 million. Grants to other government units, 4.3 billion. Social benefits, 41 million. Other expenditure, 13 million. Capital expenditure, 1.9 billion. And arrears clearance, amortization, 3.419 billion.
And on the health infrastructure, 3.12 billion Ghana cedis for 2021. And 171 million for first quarter. And the hospitals will take like a year or 2 or 3 to build. So 3.1 times, say 3 years, is getting to the 2 billion we predicted. So that's a lot of money. $2 billion can change the state of business in lots of these districts, in the construction industry, in infrastructure. We must pay attention at retaining a lot of that value here.
So that's how we wrap up this week's edition of What the Papers Are Saying. My name is Mensah Opoku. I had in studio Selorm, Adonoo, head of features and articles, City FM, City TV, and Kojo Akoto, Boateng, head of new media. So stay with us. Voters' Diary is up next.